Hey everybody, welcome to Tales Off the Holotables. Um, I'm here today with Bones, who I was actually on your podcast a few weeks ago,
Yep.
and actually last week because of the whole fiasco being locked out. It was a lot of fun. Three scoundrels. It's a very long podcast, but like I sit there and I listen to the whole thing every single time.
There's
But you
something
also
about
do a
it,
lot
yeah.
of stuff other than that. Like you do your own streaming. I
Yeah.
haven't really looked into it too much yet. I tried to catch you today and pop in and say hi, but my wife being sick and having to go to the grocery store, we had other plans. So how you doing?
All good, man. All good. Good, man. So it's been pretty awesome getting to know you. Like we haven't even known each other very long, but it seems like we have. We had you on the show a few weeks ago, and then we just been keeping in contact on Discord, and yeah, you've been on the show, so it's been pretty cool getting to know you, man. And you're quickly becoming one of my better friends and favorite content creators. I've been also following your stuff as well, but yeah, man, it's been good hanging out with you lately, and you're doing great. I know that starting out is kind of rough with the views and stuff, but I think if you just keep on doing your thing as well, you'll be quite surprised how you catch on.
I gotta say it's funny, and I always forget like what I mention and what I don't mention. I think maybe I mentioned this when I was on with you guys the first time. When I was talking to Logan, he had said, "Oh, you're gonna love Avant. You're gonna love him. He's great. He's awesome. Like he loves math. Like he's like
Mm-hmm.
so methodical like you." And yeah, I like him. And you're such the antithesis of myself. Like you're the complete opposite. You're into the conspiracy theories, like aliens exist. You're on top of all of that shit.
Earth
And
is flat. Not
somehow
really,
I'm
not
like, man,
really.
I like this guy a lot more, you
Yep.
know? So
No, I appreciate it, brother. That's what I'm saying. I've become quite fond of you pretty quickly. But yeah, I love Avant, but he is uh cup half full kind of guy. You can't get him off his demeanor. He's just cool, calm, collected, and you can never. I always try to get him to rage. I try to trigger him, and there's just no going. And him and Logan will start talking about datacrons. I'll start falling asleep. So I got to start. I have to, insert kind of some kind of comedic relief or something in there. So
well, I know we had
us
that big.
three.
Go ahead,
Uh,
finish up.
I'm just saying, us three together though, we're a pretty good combo. You get a little bit of everything because, like
I
you said, they're like 3 hours long, but and every time before we go live, we kind of did it just you and I just now. We'll be like, all right, we're gonna keep this short, about an hour and a half, and then every time it goes over 3 hours. So it's pretty fun, man. It's pretty cool, and we're growing every week, and people seem to enjoy it and everything else, and we're just three jackasses sitting there talking about Slugga. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's addicting, and
No,
like I said,
I
we've
mean, I
been.
like your guys' dynamic because you have Logan, he's more of like whether you call him a dolphin or a whale, like he spends a lot of money on the game and like he's
Mhm.
kind of like the head there. And then you have Avant, who's very like math oriented, and whether he spends
Yep.
or not
He's our
doesn't matter.
Egnard. Yep.
And then you have you who is all into the conspiracy theater, the conspiracy theories, and you have more of a conservative minded account. So you kind of like hit the trifecta of players that kind of play the game.
Yep.
And what I've appreciated, talking to you guys, is it's kind of like the same demeanor that I'm going for here is more of that conversational tone, which is why I've liked listening to it on my commutes. And some of my viewers who have kind of messaged me on Discord, like, man, like I just finished everything in your backlog. I love just throwing it on, and I've thrown them your way. I'm like, hey, listen, Three Scoundrels, like it's the same kind of jackassery. It's the same kind of like just a bunch of dudes talking. You'll really enjoy it. Um, and I've heard the same thing. So,
Yeah,
you
and I
guys just
appreciate
keep
that,
doing it.
man. And I think, I mean, and I've told you this behind the scenes and stuff. Like, I'm also going through your backlog, and just like when I'm playing games or whatever, I'm just listening to you on YouTube, and I think it's a different kind of content that maybe people don't even know that they want or they need because what do you think? Probably 85-90% of content of all the creators is this is how you beat this event. This is, the what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
to the point, it's instructive. There's no real banter or anything, and they're usually by themselves. And which is good. That should be what most of the content is. How to beat the game, what's the best characters, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. But there's not very many Arnolds. There's not very many AP gains that might be instructive, but as well as entertaining. And this isn't an attack at any of the content creators because I love each and every one of them. I've supported a big, small, all of them. But like some of them are just informative only, and they're probably some of the biggest ones. You know, Bitdynasty, whatever, but they're not there to entertain you. And so sometimes I think it's nice to have a change of pace. That's kind of where I go with where Avant's kind of he's not an entertainer. He's just there to get you the facts straight there. Me and Logan are kind of the shit talking people that just like to talk crap the whole time. And that's why I like you. That's what I was going with is there's not very many of us that kind of just like to entertain, but you also have the facts and stuff and the strategies and everything else. So you have a well-rounded approach, and yeah, I promote you as much as I can too. And I think we're trying to mention you at least once every podcast.
I was thinking on my drive home, I actually had to get my oil changed, and I was sitting at one of those places where you have to stay in your car while they're doing it. And I was listening and I was listening, and I kept hearing my name and like, oh, fuck you, Egnards, but in like a good way. But
Yeah.
I was like, we need a bingo card of just like take a shot every time you hear Egnards' name. And I'm sitting there in the car, I'm like, son of a bitch, like this is I need to be there. But convincing my wife, hey, every Thursday night it's going to be between 2 and 4 hours. That's a hard sell.
You're always on the list, man. In the cantina, you're always at the top of the list, so you're always welcome, man. And I tell the other guests that this too. They never really do it. Actually, Neb did it when we had you last time. But if you have the guest tag and if you can get in the voice chat, you're always welcome to crash, man. None of us ever complain about that. You know, we always try to keep it short, but it never happens. So, and I'm the guy that wants guests on. I want to get some people out there, like
That's the fun, right?
yeah, and I also like we do a bad job of going out and get the smaller known people. Like that's what we want to do, but we always forget, and we just go find someone like you or someone else that we know we can just at the last minute have on the show. I need to do a better job at that, to be honest, because I like bringing up the younger content creators, the less known ones. And I asked you this before. The Escape podcast. It was Nev, the British guy that you hung out with last time you were on, and my friend Paul. They would get CG Crumb interviews, Heinze. Actually, they were friends with Heinze before he was famous. Gridden, like they would get the biggest names on there. Cubs fan Han, and after a while, they invited me to be like their third person, and they never did that with anyone. They were on for years and years and years. And I just popped up, or he found me and brought me on the show, and we became friends. And then that kind of catapulted my Swugga career. And that's kind of what I want to do with Three Scoundrels, is do that for people as well. But you know, kind of like how we've taken a liking to you and just naturally brought you on the show. That's kind of what they did to me. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I kind of wanted to give I'm not saying we're the biggest podcast, right? Because most people don't even know who the fuck we are. Is it okay if I cuss on here, by the way?
This is I'm sitting here drinking Irish whiskey, and you're there's no bleeping here.
All right, because I'm one of those people that even if I'm at your grandma's house and you warn me not to cuss, I'm probably gonna slip up and cuss. You know what I mean? That's just part of my repertoire. I don't know where I was going with that, but you know, like I think it's important to bring all content creators up and around. Yeah, and I'm kind of sad. I mean, how long have you been playing the game?
January 2017.
Okay, so for quite a while. I don't know if you're around Mobile Gamer. Do you know who Mobile Gamer is?
It's familiar. I'm not, it's funny because I do these videos now, and for me, it's more about like chatting with people. I'm not somebody that watches videos. I really struggle with sitting in front of a screen, which is why I do put them on Spotify too, so that people can just listen. So I am aware of the name, but I'm not familiar with the content.
So like when it first, I don't even know when it first came out, 2015 maybe. There was like the trifecta. There's probably 4 or 5 only that covered it. It was Arnold, Mobile Gamer, Cubs fan Han, Warrior, and like McMull or something. But they would always be on each other's videos. They would always be doing stuff, and it wasn't so serious. They'd obviously be instructive, but it wasn't so serious. A lot of those guys have left, and I don't know if it's egos or what it is, but no one does anything with each other anymore. And I like that you have the same. We've already discussed. We have the similar kind of content. I wish some of the other content creators, big or small, would try to do that more often. But it doesn't seem like they ever reach out to anybody. It's always us reaching out to them, and which is fine too. Like everyone's different. But I wish a lot of these content creators would just try to do the same that we do. Have more
I
people on there and change it up a little bit.
I think what it comes down to is when you create content. I'm obviously in a very small niche in which I do have I have a very my backlog of like how to's are very just
Yep.
instructional. I'm not gonna bullshit you, right? It's just this is it, and this is proof that it works. And then you have something like this where I want to find out about people. So
Yep.
that's kind of like my niche, and that's kind of like your niche.
Yep.
And when you have like these bigger, more entertainer, because I want people to enjoy what we're watching, but I'm not gonna jump in front and juggle and do all these crazy things. When you have somebody who's like a big entertainer, they have like their own processes, they have their own style and whatever else it is. But
Yeah.
what I have found, I was very, very surprised when I started reaching out to people, just how amicable everybody has been.
Same.
I did maybe 2 episodes before I reached out to Celiac Sarah, and I was like, oh, I'll never hear back.
Yeah.
And I had an answer in a half hour.
Yeah. Yep.
Same
Love
thing
her,
with
by
Bit
the way.
Dynasty. Bit Dynasty is much bigger than she is, and I was like, there's no way he's ever gonna have time for me. And
Yep.
I was able to talk to him within a week, and I kind of touched base with a few other people that I want to kind of chat with in the future. And every time I'm surprised, I'm like, wow, there's not like this barrier that I kind of always anticipated there being.
Yeah. Same here. I
Um,
was surprised as well, like you said. Yeah. The only time I have, like, even the biggest ones surprisingly don't live in the United States. Think about
yeah,
think about Scribe. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Gerbil or whatever. He's an older guy. He's American, but he lives in Japan. Um, it's just yeah, everyone's super friendly, like you said. They answer back, but I can never meet up at the same time. Like you were talking about Thursdays. Like that's the
yeah.
only time we can do it, and it never aligns up with anyone. There's this new kid named Asteroid Mech, I think is his name. I might have messed it up, but I
I
enjoy
think I've
watching his.
actually seen on like videos from him, so I think you might
Yeah,
be
he's
correct
starting to
there.
pop up, and I was like, okay, I'd like to have him on, but he works Thursdays or whatever. But he still responds, he still talks to us. Um, the only one that I can't get to respond to me is Arnold, which I understand because he's the top dog, right? And
I'm working on him as well. I mean, he uses some of my math all the time, so he is very aware of who I am. I did. He bought me Marin. I've been saying that to everybody. I've had like a brief conversation with him before I started doing video, and I'm trying really, really hard to pull him in, but we'll see. I'm hoping to pull some strings at some point.
if anyone's watching this, help us out. We need Arnold. Now, I mean, and I love him. He is the OG. I watched him. He's the reason I, am good at this game starting out because I never watched YouTube for instructional purposes. I downloaded this game and I was just simulating things, hitting buttons, didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was like, I really like this game, but I think I would be able to get a head start on people or things if I went and looked it up on YouTube, and I discovered this guy named Arnold that didn't show his face, just did character reviews and everything. And so he's the OG. He gets a lot of hate nowadays, but I think it's just kind of you live long enough to become the villain kind of thing. And but yeah, I mean, he is hilarious. But like you were saying, like juggling, like I would never be able to do. He kind of does the juggling act, right? I would never be able to sit in front of the screen and my
Yeah.
outfits and bounce around, which I'm not talking bad about him. Like he kills it. He's amazing. He's an all around entertainer and informational person. But
He
yeah,
is an entertainer first, and that's fine.
yeah,
I did dislike him for a very long time, and it wasn't necessarily him. It was just me coming to grips with the idea of just because something's not for me doesn't mean it's bad,
yeah, yeah,
and it's coming to grips with that idea of like, okay, that act isn't for me, but other people enjoy it, and that's cool. It doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it not in my wheelhouse.
right,
And I'm learning that.
yep. And I try to get people in, like, there are content creators that I don't really watch, but I would still want to have on my show. You know, I want to support or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now I know you're friends with Bitdynasty. I don't hate Bitdynasty, so I'm going to start this off before I tell the
All
story.
I've heard is that you do hate Bitdynasty.
Okay, I'm going to tell the story first. This is what became to this whole thing. First of all, Bad Batch. I don't have Bad Batch, and at the time I didn't have Slacker either. So I'm doing Grand Arenas, and I'll always look up counters. And the only fucking team that comes up for every counter is Bad Batch. And so I would bitch about it, right? And then everyone in the streams used to give me shit. I don't know if you've ever met Kate Gaming or know who she is. She's really cool. She's a bigger content creator for this. But you know, she started giving me shit on streams and everything. So it's become a huge inside joke in our circle about me not having Bad Batch and all that. And so take that same kind of thing. I know Bad Batch is amazing. I know they're great. I know I need them, but it's become a thing like, you know, fuck Bad Batch because I don't have them pretty much.
It's one of those things.
So it's like that.
Until the Lightspeed bundle comes out.
Yes, and then I'll be all on
it. Then you'll have the Lord Vader Bad Batch thing.
Because I have 2 GLs left. I need to get C. I'll be going for him very soon. And I still don't think I'm going to go for Vader. So that's even longer. I'm going to put off Bad Batch because I think I'm going to go Bo-Katan because I think she's going to be needed for something soon. Don't know what, but something tells me it's going to be something big and we're going to regret it. Kind of like Grand Inquisitors. People who didn't farm Grand Inquisitors kind of regretted it after a while. It took a long time, but you understood, wow, shit, I should have got on that. I think Bo's going to be the same kind of thing. And so I'm extending the inside joke even farther, and I kind of enjoy it now. It's like, how long can I put off from getting Bad Batch? So anyways, going to Bitdynasty, it's the same kind of thing. Dude is top of the game, amazing, informative as hell. But kind of like you, it's like, I don't want to sit through a whole video. I mean, he gives us, it's not so much anymore. It's not so much anymore that I feel this way. But everyone like, so you know when you're like, you ask your friend or something like as a question that they should know, and like just Google it, man. I'm like, I don't want to Google it. I just asked you that question. Yeah, and so that's what it is. It's I ask someone a question all the time in different discords, in different areas of the game, on my streams, and everyone just say, look up a Bitdynasty video. That's the answer 1,000% of the time. So Bitdynasty, I don't really hate you, but it's like, no, I don't want to look up Bitdynasty and watch a 15-minute video. I want you guys to take your 15 minutes and spell it out for me, which isn't fair either. So the new inside thing is not fuck Bitdynasty, but it's like, you know, screw Bitdynasty. And so I don't really hate the guy, just so he knows. Like, and I want to get him on the show sometime and like tell him the story as well. But it's kind of an inside joke, and I don't know where I was going with that. But just so everyone knows, I don't hate Bitdynasty. He's an awesome guy. I don't hate Bad Batch. They're a great team.
But it's a thing.
But it is a thing in the group. So
I have 2 thoughts here. The number one is on the Bitdynasty thing. One of the things that I really appreciate about his content is that when I do look up stuff for like Conquest, and it's usually Conquest, like Sector 5 boss, whatever.
Yep.
He, as much as he talks and like he goes through things, he sections off all of his videos so that I don't need to watch everything, right? Like, so I go in there and I'm like, oh, I can just go to this one piece. And it's very quick. And I really appreciate that, because when you talk about YouTube and the algorithm and like getting monetized and needing views and hours and all of that stuff, I'm sure he cares about that to an extent, because, you know, it's nice to have a secondary income, but he goes through the trouble of putting that stuff in there, which is kind of a counterintuitive to the monetization aspect, because it helps people more, you know. So that's one of the reasons where I really like him. But the second point is I understand the Bad Batch point, because I will never Relic 9 my Jedi Master Luke. It'll never happen unless...
That's another one I'm getting shit for too, by the way.
Unless he is a requirement for something, it's never happening. Ever. I do not care. I had Captain Amazing on a few weeks ago, and he's a big GAC guy, and I had told him like, hey, one thing for my roster, I'll do it right now on the stream, except for Jedi Master Luke. You know, like it's not happening ever.
There's some things you just don't want to budge on. I don't know why, but I feel the same way. And the R9 JMO thing is one of the top things people give me shit for on the stream as well, because mine's still R7. So I feel you on that as well. I get a lot of shit.
It's never. So I've never actually looked at your account. How big is the account that you're normal? I know you use another one as well, but
Yeah, sometime I need to send you my ally code. And you can do like one of your streams or something. But it's 9.7 now.
Okay.
So what is there? 8 GLs in the game.
There's 8. You have
I
6
have
of them.
six of them. I even have Leia. I don't have Vader. I don't have C. I have all the GL ships. I don't have Reva. I don't have Bo Katan. I don't have Afra. Um,
Afra's useless.
yeah, she's definitely luxury. I don't see she might be one of the last people I ever get. Um, yeah, I mean that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So it's almost 10
So
million.
you're up there. You are.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
in
okay.
Kyber 2. I'm probably around the bottom of Kyber 2.
So we're there together. You might see me one day.
Dude, everyone I know is in Kyber, like right where I'm at. You know what I mean? I
I
don't know
sit
what.
there on Kyber 2 constantly. I dropped into Kyber 3 once because I forgot to join GAC for a week.
Same here. Yep.
Um, and it was a great week. I loved that week. It was amazing. I was like, man, I have so much time tonight.
Yep.
So I dropped really briefly, but then right after that, I popped right back up and I won my match today. Me and my opponent, we both kind of shit the bed. Um, I'm a turtle. I do as little as possible.
Yeah. I mean, we eventually have to fight somebody we know. We're
Yeah.
very active in all forms of the community. Like that means the more people we know, the more likely we're going to match up with someone. I have not fought anybody. I think a long time ago. I didn't know Zareth, but I went up against Zareth's. I'll have to send you a video of the stream because I have it on my YouTube channel. But I went up against Zareth's alt account or something. Like
Okay.
that's the only thing, only content creator. I've never went up against anyone I know. I think I went up against somebody else named Bones. So it was
Okay.
like game of Bones is what I called it. That's about as
Have
cool
you ever
getting
had
matchups.
somebody in game like message you and be like, "Hey, are you Bones from Three Scoundrels?"
I have not. No, I
Not
have
yet.
not.
I've
Not
had
yet.
it happen to me twice.
Okay.
Uh, and one of the ones, the guy was like, "I'm just gonna throw this match and give you the win as a thank you." But I looked at the account and I was like, I think I was gonna win this battle anyway. Like there wasn't.
He wanted to make it sound like it was
He,
on his terms.
he had like I mean he did really well for himself in Kyber too, but he had like 5 GLs and like 1 GL ship, and I have all of them.
Yep.
So I was like,
I'm
okay,
tell
thank you.
I was telling somebody in the stream today, like ships win or lose Grand Arena more than anything. And this it was like a 2.5 million account. And I was like, he's trying all this other stuff. I was like, dude, go for a ship. He's like, I don't even participate
Ugh,
in arena. I was like, dude, you're losing out, you know. The ships are more important than any other
anything
ground,
else.
you know.
It wasn't a
So,
guy named Vanced, was it?
no, I think I
Oh,
know him though. I do know
okay.
that name. But
He's
no.
on Reddit and he's well known on Reddit. He's younger. I think I'm pretty sure a teenager. But I had helped him out with his roster pretty recently, and I had to basically convince him to get Executor. I was like, please, man, like for the love of God, you got like 4 million GP. Like you need a
Yeah,
GL
it's
ship.
time.
You need it now.
I've actually, since I've been streaming the last year or two, I'm nowhere near an expert. And I'll tell usually my motto when I people meet me for the first time, I'm the guy you watch to learn what not to do. You know what I mean? And it's kind of true. And that's why people enjoy watching me because I don't know the kits. I just know from like muscle memory, right? After I
Yeah.
do a matchup so many or use a character so many times or go up against the character so many times, I just know what happens if I press this button, if they do that. Obviously, I know what some things are doing, but I don't know the kit to the T. And I'm still in Kyber too. So you don't need to be a genius to play this game. But
Yeah, that's a really good point just because whether you meant to make it or not, but like as a long-term player and as a long-term player, I had a guy recently reach out to me on Discord, and I've been helping him a lot with his account lately, and we've been chatting a lot. And yesterday he was asking me about like kits and what are these, where can I go to find out without just reading the kit, like how to use a team. And I had essentially said to him, I was like, man, like I have so much muscle memory because I only have to learn one team at a time.
yeah,
I've been in this game for so long that I learn a team, I'm great, and then a new one comes out, and now I
yep,
kind of remember the old team. For him, every other week there's a new team that he has to remember because he's upgrading this, the other thing. And he's like lost. There's over 270 kits, I think, right now in the game. And I only know them because of because of muscle memory of learning one,
Yeah.
hoping it works, and then 3 months from now there's another one, and I have to learn, at a much slower pace.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of got out of, and that's what I was going to say a minute ago is like, I may not be an expert for the 10, 12 million, 9 million players, but for the people who are like just starting out to like 4 million, I can kind of be an expert to them and put them on the right path. Right. And so I do love doing that. And I've got a lot of people into the game. I've got a lot of people going in the game. And God, where was I going with that though? I don't know. I just my brain just completely stopped where I was going with that. But got it. But yeah, I don't know what I was gonna say. But I do tell them early on, go sometimes before you even get a GL, go for a ship. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I think profundity is I was just going over today about how you could go profundity because most of those characters may not be the most useful in other ways, but they're easy to get early on because it's a lot of just crappy. I don't know if it's what is it, rebels, I guess.
It's a lot of rebel stuff, and a lot of it
But
is in like the GAC or like the Galactic War store.
yeah, an early hard node farm, so it doesn't take very long to get to that.
The
I
hardest
mean,
part is AdRad and R9. Like that's the
but
toughest
correct
part
me
for
if
some
I'm
people.
wrong. Like it might be tougher for an earlier game player, but you can still buy those with crystals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
so I've been telling that like you can kind of go from that into GL Leia. Correct me if I'm wrong about this too, because I was telling someone about this today. I told him to go to Profundity, GL Leia, and then Jabba.
From
Um,
the beginning,
yeah. Wouldn't
I
you
disagree
agree
with that.
okay, well, I want you to tell me what you think. But don't you think that Leia was pretty easy? Don't you think Jabba was
Leia's
pretty
fairly
easy?
easy. Leia was
Yeah.
fairly easy, though. I was listening to Sarah's podcast, her and Pico, and one thing they were talking about, and then you guys kind of had like the opposite. And I was listening to you the next day, talking about, and we're gonna get to the same point, but like I think Avant was talking about, or maybe Logan, about the financial success of Leviathan, and they were arguing the exact opposite. And I agree with them in the exact opposite. Leviathan was probably an abject failure in terms of money, just because it was so easy to get for the people most likely to get it.
Yeah.
In the same way that Leia was very easy for us as veteran players, because everything else other than the four marquees was already set up for us, right?
I was
Like
gonna say I
that
had a lot
stuff
of relics
was,
already, and like yeah,
yeah,
like it was just pretty much the marquees that were a problem for me. And then they hooked us up with the remember there was like a
all those bonus drops.
yeah,
They
so that
were
was really
really
neat.
pushing Leia, like really pushing Leia. So I don't know if that was a success either. If they were
What
like,
was
oh, okay,
what was weird was I was farming Jedi Cal before she came out. Like that was probably the one that came out before. I don't remember, but I was farming those marquees, and I had the Leia marquees finished before I had Tarful done. I was still working on Tarful, that bastard. But that was just a
they gave
random thing.
us two. I think there was 2 rounds of bonus drops. There was one round a little early on, and then the second round, and I had told people like they've moved on. Like GLA is no longer a thing. They're moving on to the next
Yeah.
thing, and that ended up being Bo-Katan. So I guess this comes down to like a difference in opinion. Why do you think Profundity into Leia
I
as
just think
a first GL, right? This is what we're talking about.
yeah, there was like I think there's a few characters that overlapped. I don't
Okay.
remember what they were. And just most of all the requirements for Leia were also early characters you could get. Also, like for a beginning player, you would get Captain Rex, who would upgrade your Phoenix, and
Yeah.
most newer players had Phoenix, so that would give you use right out of the get go. Nisa, like, and everyone, I'm probably gonna forget what I was talking about just now, but everyone's like, I only want to work on accelerated characters. I don't want to farm anything. And I'm like, I don't know if a character is good enough,
If they're good
farm
enough.
him. You know what I'm saying? Like it's only going to take you a couple more weeks overall in the overall GL grind of things. It's only going to make that much of a difference. You know what I mean? And like
Well,
it
especially
make
as a first GL, even if you slow farm it and it takes 6 months, it's very unlikely that that's going to be the time thing for you, right? Because as a first GL, it takes you months and months and months and months to get all of
yeah.
that shit.
And just think how many other GLs are gated by other things. So let's say like JMK, you have to be at least 4 million plus to get cat. So
Yeah.
JMK is out of it for you. I don't know. Like there's other ones too, but like there's a reason I don't suggest Leviathan because you got to be end game
Hmm.
to get Leviathan. But I don't know. But like Leia had some overlapping things. You have to get Bush Leia, so that's why I said Jabba after that. Jabba had, and also I just don't. I think it's what's the word? It's counterproductive to go for older GLs, even if you're starting out. I feel like if you're able to farm a GL, you could probably farm any of them. You know what I mean? There's not
Yeah.
one that you can't farm. So I just figure, Jabba has all those events, has rote things like that. So I think you get more out of Jabba all the way around than you would going for Vader or C. And most people say C or Slacker. And then, I mean, I also just think that the light side bundles are so cheap that no matter how free to play you are, you can afford those light side bundles.
Absolutely.
So
They're
I wouldn't
super
even,
cheap. They're dirt cheap.
and everyone, and this is kind of pet peeve. Everyone's like, well, I'm just waiting for a light side bundle for C or Vader. And I'm like, quit waiting for light side bundles. You don't know what's going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Just farm
You're
for
the
them.
conspiracy theorist, right? You're the one who's like going like this, and meanwhile,
Yeah.
like that's like the most rational thing I've ever heard from you because I say the same thing to everybody.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Because
I'm not going to give you advice based on something that I can't be certain is going to happen.
right. And everyone's just they're almost like it's going to happen. Well, we don't know. It probably will, but I don't see them giving us another one for another year or two.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
like a long time before you get another couple of GLs. Because what's the next one after it was
It's
C
JML
and
and C.
JML.
Yeah,
I do not see JML being given to somebody for $20 for a long time.
yeah.
I don't for at least another year. So that drives me crazy. I'm like, just quit, almost as much as saying, well, I'm only going to farm accelerated drops. Like, quit limiting yourself and just start working on it. Because if you procrastinate in this game, every day you procrastinate something, you're losing out tons of time.
Yes,
Get that shit over with. Like, whenever I'm farming GL, I go for the highest. Well, I should say, I go for the most useful character first.
yes.
Then after all the useful characters are done, I'm going for the highest relic character that
Just
needs
to
to
get it
be.
over with.
Yeah, just rip the band-aid off. And a lot of people just procrastinate. And damn it, I was going on something else,
No,
and then I
you
went on
you
that
had it,
rant.
but here's the thing. First of all, I wish we could figure because I know like going on my stream, we were trying to figure out and like it wasn't working, but we have to do a roster review together at some point because I think it would be
Yeah.
hilarious our difference in opinions. For me, Jabba, I do think is a very high priority GL. And I do tell people to go for Jabba constantly. I tell them that Leia is one of the lowest priority GLs. I think that Leia. I think that Ray, outside of the Lightspeed bundles, and I think that Vader, even though I love Vader and he's great at like Conquest, I think if you look at those three, and actually Kenobi too, are some of the lowest priority GLs for an account. And the way that I approach a review when I do that with people is I'm thinking not just about like what are they going to get in the short term. I think about the long term ROI on the events that they're getting. So when I
Yes.
tell people C, I'm not telling them, oh, C is a great GL. I'm telling them C is going to give you CT3 on 3 assault battles, and you're going to lead right into Executor. So you're building this great base for your account rather
Okay.
than like going for something that doesn't have that.
Yes. Yeah. And is that what you usually tell people to go for? Is
If
C
I have like a blank slate, because there's
a
how like
beginner?
people come to you and they have an account that's like totally this way and it's
Hmm.
their first GL, I'll go, oh, we'll go for Java just because for some reason you're so close to him.
Yeah.
But if I had a blank account, if I were to start an account tomorrow, I would do C Executor, Jedi Master Luke into Java.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to see all the requirements in front of me, but I do agree with you on Executor. I don't have C, so I don't have the experience of farming him. So maybe that's why I don't recommend him as much. Because I'm 9.7 million just now going to start on him. But I've always said Executor. I've set people on. I try to get people to do ships before anything.
Yeah.
At least get you one GL ship because now you're ahead of your shard. That's probably relatively new. Is that how it works when you start an account?
Yeah,
Does it
when
put you
now
in
when
a
you
fresh
start the
shard?
account, when you unlock Fleet Arena is when you unlock your shard.
But how do you know? How does it determine where it puts you? Is it always going to be a newer shard?
It's always going to be a newer shard. So I don't know the exact numbers,
Yeah,
but
right.
basically what happens is a shard is like 15,000 people. Or 15, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah,
And it it's that shard until it fills up, and then it becomes a new shard. And I think that there are Discord servers that you can go on, and if you go on those Discord servers, like they kind of, it's not 100% accurate, but they like sort of
right.
track like, hey, a new shard started yesterday.
Okay,
So there's an
interesting.
idea that you can kind of, hold there.
But yeah, and I try to iterate because even as a long term player, I put ships off until they started becoming more and more important. Then I was like, fuck, I gotta catch up. I gotta start working on them. And anytime a new GL is or GL ship is hinted at, whatever, I'm dropping everything I'm doing. I'm hoarding because you need 25k crystals, and I do slow farm everything, and I start kind of putting everything on the back burner because it's just they're so important to the payout, like the payout itself. Now you take the crystals away, they're not so much important anymore. They're still pretty important in Grand Arena because the counters for a ground GL, it's just there's a plethora of them anymore. I've been telling people nowadays there's no real defense anymore. There's just so many counters to
I
everything.
was just listening to you saying this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not saying there's not some good defensive teams, right? You still need a little bit of a defense, but I think more than ever you're okay using a light defense. Just like today in my Grand Arena, because my blue stacks crashed, I couldn't get past Alea. He put nothing but like gear 12 below on everything, but he had one Leia on one zone and like job on another. And I was going to take that Leia out, but it crashed, right? Or whatever happened. But that guy won. He didn't, he full cleared me and I couldn't even get past his zone. What happens if the counter went wrong? And I couldn't get past his Leia. He set nothing but shite except for two GLs, and he still won. So I think that more than ever, that's a thing. But still, ships have less counters. It's getting a little more open with the Scythe and the Marauder, and you could always use first order for stuff, but you have to really know your stuff, and you really have to have high relics on certain stuff. Like I still have a 2-star echelon, so
Oh
like
my
no,
gosh.
I'm a slacker when it came to ships. So anyways, going back to that, I don't want beginners to make that same mistake. It's easy for you to come in this game and not even think about ships. Like, okay, the ships are there. I kind of need to work on them, but who cares about that? Let's go get the fun, flashy characters that I love. Well, I try to get new players to understand that you really want to ship faster than your shard mates do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why I try to put them on pace. I'm not saying they have to get it before a GL, but there is a really easy, free to play, friendly way of without even getting C to getting to executor, right? And along the way, it'll help you unlock 3PO. It'll help you unlock some other things. I don't know right offhand what it is, but you'll also passively unlock a lot of good stuff on your way. And when you're a brand new account, it's nothing but a good thing. So executors are really good first time GL farm. It kind of gets you in the mode of farming GLs in general, because you were around before GLs were, right?
Yes. So 2017, I was around before like
I don't remember when they came
Commander Luke
in.
Skywalker,
Okay.
so like even before that,
So when
I
was it, like 2018, 2019 when they introduced GLs?
GLs were 2019. It was right before COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to quit because they just introduced relics, and that was when the gas event came around, and I was like,
Yep.
that was kind of pissing me off already, and I was like, all right, whatever. Um, Now hindsight 2020, I like relics and I like GLs, but at the time, and then gas was the biggest requirements you needed, but I was still fine with it. I wasn't mad about it or anything. I had to relic 2 or 3 characters. I was okay with that. And then they just out of nowhere, the very next thing, drop Ray and Slacker on you. And when you look at, if you imagine never seeing a GL before, if you're listening to this, go look at the gas requirements and then just blank out everything past that. And then they drop that on you. High relics. I mean,
It was crazy.
how many are required for a GL? How
I think
many?
it's 15 total, so I think it's like 14 relic. It was basically when SLKR came out and Ray, it was basically the whole faction. It was like everything First Order, everything Resistance. You have to relic it.
There was no easing us into it, and I was going to quit.
No,
Like I was done with the game. And plus, no offense to anyone or anything, but I hate the sequels. I just despise them. They weren't any characters that I wanted. And then, I mean, I knew that I needed to farm them. I knew I needed to, but I refused to because I was ready to quit. I didn't farm a GL till JML came out because I do like Luke. He was probably the best part of those movies. And so I did start farming it, but that was pretty late. I didn't get C, so I'm 3 GLs behind. And I've been playing since day one. I should be
you
11,
should have
12
all
million
that.
right now. You know what I mean? So I fucked
Yeah.
myself right there. That was the point in my career of this game. I've never missed a day until recently with my health issues. Not once have I missed a day. I've always kept up with the meta. I never cared about getting like top 10 in squad arena, even when it had crystals. I was proud of myself if I could stay top 20 or something. So I'd always stay top 20. That was my goal, just because it
You
made me
know,
feel good. It made me feel like I was staying up with the game. But I mean, just imagine having that dropped on you. You're just trying to get your head wrapped around relics, and then 15 characters are needed to high relics. I was so mad.
and
But
people who are newer to the game now, if anyone in that area is listening to this, like they go, oh, like that's not that bad. But at that point in the game, there were so many fewer options for getting these materials.
yep,
It was nowhere near as easy as it is now. Like at that point, I remember getting a Relic 5 Revan and a Relic 7 Jedi Knight Anakin and being like, I'm a badass. Like I have
yeah,
these two Relic guys. This is awesome. Uh, Now I relic people every day. Like that's not a big
yeah.
problem.
And I do want to
Then
commend CG. I'm sorry to cut you off, but they've done a great job of fast tracking that process, though.
yeah.
But go ahead and say what you're saying. But I just
No, no,
wanted to
no.
say
I
that.
mean, it's really an ended thought. It's just an understanding that the game has changed so much. Where they had
Yeah.
the goalpost has changed from getting to relics. Now getting to G12 is not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
Even Chirotech is still rough, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And there's just so many avenues that people don't realize. Like that was when Ray dropped, you're like, what the fuck is this? And they were like, oh, by the way, we're releasing 2 new capital ships, and you have to farm those too. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, what are we
That's another
doing
thing
here?
is they were dropping two at a time. Maybe not ships, but they were dropping 2 GLs at a time for a little bit there. And that's even more you have to wrap your so you had to
Yeah.
choose which way you wanted to go. And yeah. So I wonder how much of the money they made off that, because at that time you would have had to wail your ass off. And I'm sure if you're someone like Logan, you have to have both of them at the same time. You know what I mean? So I couldn't imagine how that went. But
Well, that was something like for me, I was like a light spender, a casual spender, and I couldn't fathom. I was like, how could people get 2 of these?
yeah.
Like you can't.
Yeah.
It's like impossible. And now I have, all of them. Like it's a total game changer. It's completely different.
And
But I
relics were so rare back then that like I still have some characters that I don't use anymore that are like relic 2 or relic 4, which makes no sense anymore. But
yeah,
like it was so precious that I would only take them up as much as I could. And you don't really want to do 2 or 4 or 6. You want to go 3, 6, 9, like a little John song. But that was just a random thought. Yeah, because I had an R2 Revan until just recently when Leviathan came out. He'd always been R2. I thought it was weird, but
I remember the Revan meta, and that was actually the first thing that I spent money on because when I started the game, I was on my wife's account, my at the time my girlfriend. And we had just moved in together, and I had started the game, and I was on her iPad, on her account. And I guess I could have like spent money and then Venmoed her, but I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want her to know I'm spending money on this stupid fucking game. Um, And it wasn't until 2019 that I realized I could like mitigate it to my account and on
Yeah,
my phone. And I like dropped, I think like after 2.5 years, I dropped like $100 and I got like two, maybe three relics out of it.
yeah,
And it was like nothing, but you were like, this is awesome. If I got
yeah.
everything, I'm
Yeah, every
badass.
little level of relics you could get was a huge deal. It was new to everyone, new to whales, but you knew when that dropped that the whale, it was going to separate the whales from pretty much everyone else because
Yeah.
they were going to be able to just be overpowered so much more quicker than you were going to be, and it was overwhelming for me at the point. I got a shout out to Avant because Avant's been he's kept me in this game, man. Let me give a little bit of that. I know this is a little random, but I was with the guild for about 3 years, and I considered them my brothers. I thought they were, I thought we were like family. We already had Watt to 7-star, but for some reason they just wanted me to have GeoBrute Alpha farmed up. We already had Watt, mind you. Like I had had Watt forever, and I'd already talked to them. They just keep saying that. I was like, but listen, I'm chasing the meta. Won't that help us out just as much? Like I was going for gas, I think at the time. I was like, I'm trying to get gas over GeoBrute Alpha. Like, is that okay? And they'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine, whatever. And then one day I'm just kicked out of the guild. They're like, fuck you, you didn't farm GeoBrute Alpha, and just kicked me out after 3 years. And I had it was the only like thing I did. It wasn't like I wasn't participating in territory wars or anything like that. Like I did everything they asked. So that really also sent a bitter taste in my mouth because that was my first big guild and I'd been there for a long time. Ever since then, I've been with Avant in our guild. It's probably been 4 or 5 years I've been with him. And he picked me up at my lowest. And every time I get to my lowest in this game, this man picks me up and is like, come on, man, picks me off the edge and keeps me in the game. I was gonna quit. He's the one guy that kept me in the game from quitting when the GLs came around. I was about to quit for another reason not too long ago, and he had to it might have had to do with Datacrons. When the Datacrons first came in, I think that's when I wanted to quit. And it made a lot of my favorite content creators quit. I think it was right around Lord Vader, the
It
infamous
was a
Lord
little bit
Vader.
after Lord Vader, but yeah, because it was before Jabba. I'm almost positive it was before Jabba because I remember like the really strong Lord Vader Datacrons that
It,
came
it,
out, those
it
like
was like a
Emperor ones.
dodge. It was like a lot of dodge. And
There was
like,
one with Dodge, and I think there was one with Health Steal, and you'd have
yeah,
like 200% Health Steal, and Lord Vader just wouldn't die.
yeah. And so the podcast that I told you that brought me on, they quit right around there because Nev was tired of the Datacrons or whatever. What else? So I think right around the same time, Cubs fan Han quit, Gridden quit, like all in the same amount of time. And so it took a big dent in the content creator community, which I guess left room for a lot of other people to come up, like Scribe and Bitdynasty and other ones. So it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But sorry, my wife's making supper right now. But I don't even know where. Oh, so yeah, Datacron. That's when I was going to quit again, and he kind of kept me off the thing. So I love Avant like a brother. It's good to do a podcast with him, and
It's funny because you guys are like opposites.
yeah, yeah,
Like
it's
he's the
fun.
complete opposite of you. It's like the
uh,
odd couple, right? Like from
yeah,
like the
yin and
80s,
yang,
90s.
man. Yeah, and I always try to get a rise from out of him. He just can't do it. But uh, he's just the most positive guy in this game. If he doesn't necessarily love CG, but he doesn't like me ranting on about the game. You know what I'm saying? He'll always
Yeah.
come back with a positive.
Well, the game has these features which are really great. And
Well, did you hear us on this last podcast? He had me raging because he did that same thing.
I'm only about an hour into it. Yeah.
Okay,
You gotta wait
at
till
the
like Monday, Tuesday for me to get
well, all
through
right,
it.
well, finish it because it gets even better. Because
What I love is, and you'll see it, and you'll go into your Discord, is I start commenting on it like randomly, like on the day as I'm listening. So you'll see some messages there today about that whole the whole store overpriced beer and wings.
yes, yep.
Which pisses me off. I was like, really? They didn't do the math shit when I was on there, like this big math thing.
We will next
Um,
time for sure because
I was really
old mate
annoyed. I
he
was like,
loves
those
that.
motherfuckers. Uh,
We don't plan it,
so
man. We hit live and we just fucking do it.
but I'm sitting there like messaging about and commenting on something that happened 3 days ago. And you're gonna see it again on Monday, and you're gonna see it again on Tuesday, and I'll probably finish it by Tuesday night. We'll see what
That's all right.
happens.
It was one of the longest podcasts we've had, so it's going to take you about a whole week to get through. But
No,
we
I
were.
mean, I got about I commute about an hour total each day. So, I get through it in a few days.
You'll get there. You'll get there. Me and him were, or I love the tinfoil hat shit, man. That's what I live for.
He broke
Speculation.
it. He
I,
said he got rid of it.
what's that? Oh,
He said he
I
got
don't
rid of it.
know.
He threw it away. He said he
Yeah,
blamed me.
yeah,
He said
because
it
he
looked like
said
a
it looked like a,
penis.
yeah, it looked like a
I
penis on
don't
his head.
remember saying that, but I was also drunk, so who knows?
Oh, that was a good one too. That was fun. And that's what I have the most fun getting guests on, man, because it's fun with us three. But I love getting guests on, see them out of their element, because most of the people we have on there is informative ones. We don't get to see
Yeah.
the real side of them or who they really are. So it's fun to get those people on there and just go out a complete left field with them. And because Pico Burrito and Celiac Sarah, they're two of their closest friends on the show. They've been on there a lot of times,
Yeah.
so it's always a good time having them on there. But
Well,
yeah,
I've been
me and
sending her Discord messages about The Bachelor, and I'm like, "Hey, have you been watching?" Because like that was our thing. I haven't asked Pico yet. I want to see if I can get him on at some point. But at the same time, and this is what I said to you beforehand, I want to talk to the content creators and in the same idea, get them out of their element. But I also do want to talk to different players. And I was talking to a guy on Discord on Reddit today who had reached out to me about like some math stuff I did, and he was like a brand new level 85, but really big into like the spreadsheets and this and this and that. And I
yeah,
was kind of talking to him about doing something with him because it's a perspective that doesn't get broached a lot. Like, how do you feel as somebody who's completely new and is just joining like the level 85 community and like the overwhelmingness of like everything in the game? I want to hear those things too.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I can't get on the math with you, bud. If you want to
I know, I
speculate,
know.
because like you would have caught me if I wouldn't today on the Grand Arena if I hadn't got screwed over. But for an hour and a half, we were like speculating, you know what I mean, about what's coming soon. They'll get me on Marvel and Star Wars shows, and like you don't want to do that to me on stream because we'll go on forever about speculating. So yeah, man, you can have me talking all day. But when it comes to math, I'm like, I don't know, man. My head's hurting. Let's talk about something else. But we got to have guys like you know what I mean? Or people
You
like
need
me.
both. You
Well,
need both.
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys are the
And
guys that piss us off enough to do the math, right? And then we're the ones that do the math. Because I
and
never would have been who I am if not for people like you being like, no, these drop rates are this way. And if you have no pants on, like you'll get a 30% increase. And without those guys, I would never have said, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna like track
yeah,
everything.
yeah, we give you
So
motivation. I'm most definitely the guy in the comments everywhere saying CG knows when I'm almost to 7 stars. They
oh my
know.
God. And it's not true. You've sat through that stuff. I've got my spreadsheets, man. Like, but
No,
it's
no,
okay.
you're right. You're right.
There's love
Now,
there, so it doesn't matter.
but mind you, you haven't written down every single sim you've done your entire life. So just remember that.
No, I haven't. But for Endgame Farms, I've been tracking, ironically, since Bad Batch came out.
Like
So
every
so
time you do
every
something.
single sim on a shard node, I have
Oh,
tracked since Bad
okay.
Batch came out.
Props. Well, I can't say much. That's a long ass time ago.
And not
Yeah.
only that, so I was doing that on my own, right, for a while. And somebody on Reddit was like, well, then maybe your account is seeded differently, which is something that could happen, right? Like the account
Mhm.
seeds and like how things are tracked. And I'm not a developer, so I'm explaining this like a jackass.
Right.
But then the next day I put out a thing and I got like 10 other people to track with me. So I
That's
now
pretty
have all
badass.
my data and like 10 other people's data. And we have like a big spreadsheet where I look at their stuff like every week to kind of see if there's any anomalies and see if there's anything weird going on. And there's nothing.
Yeah, and I only talk shit just for fun, like against math versus the force or whatever. I don't say religion because you know how that goes, but I call it the force. Math versus, and you guys are always right over me. It's just fun to bicker with people. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't take anything serious. You could prove me wrong, and I'm not gonna be like "fuck you, man, I'm out of here" or anything like that. Like I'll just be like, "Yeah, you're right." You know what I mean?
What's funny is like I think a lot of people before I started doing this, well, I want to pull this up while I'm talking to you because I thought it was really funny yesterday, and he listens to this too, so I think he's gonna get a kick out of it. what's really funny is in my real life, I don't like people don't perceive me as somebody who's ever serious. I
I agree.
don't
I would if you didn't tell me your math stuff, I wouldn't think of you
I
as a
don't
math
take
guy.
things seriously like ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever. And people are always like, wait, no, he's being sarcastic. Like, of course he's being sarcastic. He's always sarcastic. Nothing
Yeah.
gets taken seriously. So last night, and I'm still scrolling through to find this, somebody had posted on Reddit something about me because every other day there's something about me. And this one guy had said, Egnard, he goes, Egnards is such a cunt, and people would still blow him off after everything he does. So I was like, whatever, I'm not going to respond to it. And this one guy who he was actually the first guest I had on the show, and I talked to him every other day. He messaged me today, and and so he responds to it, doesn't know that I've seen it, and he says, I used to downvote every single post or comment of his, but once I got to know him better, I came to realize he's a great bloke. He's just straightforward and you know where you stand with him. I respect
Yeah.
that in people,
Yep.
right? Like, so I feel like there's a lot of people that think I'm like the super serious guy, but like if you listen to your podcast, if you listen to the Three Scoundrels, I was off on a Jar Jar tangent for 45 minutes. Like it
He's
is what it
coming,
is.
people. He's coming. Be ready.
I'm telling you, it's the year of Jar Jar,
So that's the problem.
2024.
I agree. I agree. That's the problem with the internet, social media, is all you're seeing is a name, a picture, and text. You know
Yeah,
how hard it is to detect sarcasm in text? And it could come off like you're being a fucking straight up dick to people. And
yeah.
I've had it happen on both sides. I've felt like someone was being a dick and they were just kidding with me. And I'll be kidding with someone and I'll even reread it. I'm like, oh, I didn't put a comma in there, so that sounds like I'm being a dick or something. You know what I mean? So that's another reason why I like the idea of you getting people off. That's not necessarily content creators and putting the face to them because
Mhm.
you don't know what they look like. You don't know who they are every day. They're and this is a weird. But before I started doing content creating and meeting people like or getting on voice chat with my guild members or whatever, for some reason, I just think of every name as some fat guy in a basement playing
Like
a
South
video game.
Park. You ever see that
Yeah.
South Park World of
Yeah.
Warcraft episode? That guy
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this.
I don't know why. That's what, if I haven't seen your face or talked to you on voice chat, that's what I'm thinking you look like. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it's never been more than from the most people are, fucking in the gym all the time, like at least with Swug, anyways. It's such a melting pot of people. And
So I
for the most
found,
part, it's positive. Not always, but for the most
yes,
part, it is.
for the most part, I think it is, and
Yeah.
I do think that there is some toxicity, and it just kind of bleeds through, because you remember the negative things. Um, what I found and within my guild is that the majority of people that I play with are probably in their 30s and 40s. They're dads and they have like 2 to 3 kids.
Yep.
And when I look at like my analytics on YouTube, it's like you get like the
30s to
breakdown of
50s.
like gender and this and
Yeah.
that. And it's
Male
pretty much
30 to
exactly
50.
that.
Yep.
I'm not a big guy. I've just started in the last 2 months. I have about roughly 600 subscribers. It's not a big cross section, but when I look at that, it says 100% male, but then there's like
Yep.
this tiny sliver that's female, right? And so it's like there, but like it's a rounding error.
That's one
And
person.
it's guys between their 30s and 50s. It's just dudes with kids that want to play a game and have a little fun. And you're
Yep.
right, we're from all over the place.
Yep.
I've talked to guys in Australia, I've talked to guys in Japan. You're on the other side of the country from me, and I've talked to people in Europe, like they're all over the place.
And for people, it's kind of funny how it works out because, COVID kind of put everyone in a different mentality state where I know things are better now, but it's still kind of just changed the world in a way. But for people that are our age, that has a family, that has a business, that has a job, we don't have time to really, after everything's said and done, or I don't even feel like going out to the bar and making friends. And usually when you go do that, they end up being a piece of shit anyways, right? So I feel like I don't know what I would do without some of this community, without the gamers and stuff that I've met during COVID or during my content creator process. I've made so many friends that are better friends than 90% of the people I my past life. You know, I used to party all the time.
Yeah.
I used to love socializing, right? But most of those people weren't even really my friends. You know, they were just there to have a good time. So the genuine people I've met, you know, lots of other content creators I've stayed in contact with, my guild mates, just fans of my streams and stuff. They've been around since day one. They've become my best friends, and they've been there more than a lot of people that I knew physically in life. So it's just very interesting. And like what I was going to say is like people our age, we don't have time to go out extra and do that. So if you can somehow have someone to talk to about whatever, about a reality show, about this fucking stupid game that no one else gives a fuck about, you can't even talk to your own family about, but you have 1,000 people in Reddit that'll talk to you about it. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. And I never was into multiplayer gaming or anything until I was in Swugga. So
Well, now you do like a lot of that, and I want to get to that in just a second. And I told you I was gonna cut this off hard at about an hour, reaching an hour. But I have one more thing I want to talk to you about before we do that. You know, it's funny because like I work in a school during the day, and I work with these two women in my classroom. I'm a one-to-one, so I'm kind of in the background. And every day at lunchtime, they're always like, "Oh, you guys, you're gonna come down and like hang out with us and like chat with all like the fourth grade teachers." And every day I'm like, "No,
yeah,
I would rather sit in this room alone." And then like I just want my alone time, like because I don't have
yeah,
alone time. You know, I'm with kids all day from 8 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. So I'm like, I would rather just sit here and read on my Kindle. I would rather
yeah,
sit here and do my Duolingo. I have nothing against any of you. I love you all and I love chatting with you guys. But during that 45 minutes, I need quiet. You know, like
yeah,
I need that quiet.
yep,
Um, so the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I grew up in the age of massive multiplayer games.
yes,
And
sir.
I started in Star Wars Galaxies back in 2003. I've played EverQuest, I've played World of Warcraft, I've played Final Fantasy 11, Final Fantasy
14.
14,
Yep.
the Warhammer one. I've played a dozen different Korean
You've played more than
MMOs.
me. Yeah.
I From 2003 to probably about 2015, I was in that community. And now I don't know if you stream it at all, but I know that you play Lord of the Rings Online, which is a pretty long-standing game, right? It's been
Yeah.
out for like a decade.
Yeah, like I didn't play it. It's been out for probably longer than that. Like a long fucking time. Maybe even close to 20 years. I don't know. Because
I don't think 20 years, but it might be close to 15 because
because it looks a little bit better than WoW. Like
yeah.
it's right around that
So WoW
genre.
would have been like 2006 to 2007 or so.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess here's my thing as a gamer. As a kid, I didn't understand RPGs. So I just kind of was a Mario, Banjo
Platformers.
Kazooie, you know, like just Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo. When PlayStation came around, it was never an RPG. I did not get into RPGs until I played Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which came out for the Xbox 360. So I don't know when that came out. That's when I got into RPG. So I'm a late bloomer. I had friends who would do LAN parties and like play World of
Oh, I'd
Warcraft.
love those.
And
Such a dork.
I'd be like, you guys are fucking nerds. I'm in there getting drunk with the other
Yeah.
friends. You know what I'm saying? So I even back then, like when I was a kid, kids would collect Pokemon, and I'd be like, you fucking Pokemon nerds. Me and my boys, when we have enough extra money, we go out and buy packs, and we have things full of Pokemon now. So it was just I'm a late bloomer to all this stuff. But yes, I if I'm not playing Swelga, I'm playing MMOs. So I'm new to Lord of the Rings. I played it back when it first came out. It wasn't really I wasn't into games like that then. I just tried it out because I love Lord of the Rings. Now I'm in MMOs. I love this Lord of the Rings MMO. I've probably in the last month put about 90 hours into it. Um, one MMO I've played since the beginning is probably SWOTOR. Did you
Okay.
ever
Yeah,
play
I
it?
played that as well. I played it in the beginning.
So I beta tested that actually. I don't even know how the fuck I got into it. I wasn't making
Hmm.
content. I've only been making content maybe 4 years.
Well,
Not very
back
long.
when Star Wars: The Old Republic came out, and I remembered I was thinking about this because I was a PC gamer for a very long
Mhm.
time, and now my PC is down here and it's 10 years old. It's neglected. I use it to play Catan with friends, and I told you get Catan, like we'll play.
Yep.
Um, Back in that age, I miss that where like it was very easy to get into beta tests. Like
Yeah.
everything would beta
Yeah.
test. If you just signed up for it, you would get in. I beta tested WoW. I beta tested Star Wars: The Old Republic, Diablo 2. Like the companies would just send it to you like, oh, you want to test this for us for free?
Yeah.
Great. Like this is wonderful.
And I guess maybe back then they didn't have it all figured out. I don't know. So, and they need, it's a massively multiplayer online game. So they need, as many people as they could. But it was really easy to get. Now you have to be fucking, you have to have 100K subscribers or some bullshit to get anything like that. But, anyways, so yeah, I know we need to move on. So sorry. So I played Slow Tour from the beginning. I really like that game. Elder Scrolls Online, I played that from the beginning and didn't really like it because it was really shitty, but they've made it better. So I still play that to this day. Fallout 76 is technically an MMO. I've been playing that since day one. I've got like 400 or 500 hours into that one, maybe even 600 hours into that one. I know there's some other ones I play off and on.
Do you do like content for that stuff too, or just for
So I
Star Wars?
just whenever I'm bored,
You
and I
just like
have
pop on a
time,
stream?
because I have 4 kids and a wife and
Yeah.
everything else. I'm not employed right now, but still, I'm constantly busy. Got something going on all the time, or just somebody wants to spend time with me. Come on, family. I got games to play.
That's kind of like when you're like, hey, you're streaming right now. I was like, yeah, I had an hour and I just figured let me pop on and see what happened. I don't give a shit if anyone watches me. Like
Right, and
if
so
two
that's
people
what
are there to talk, great.
I've been doing, and especially when I have less time than ever, I figure when I can, if I'm going to play a video game nowadays, I'm going to stream it if I can. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, that's not always the case, but if you want to be a content creator and kind of be as consistent as possible, you kind of have to have that mentality. Um, because I'm not saying I'm a serious content creator, but someday I would like it just to pay my bills. If I could just make enough for it to pay my bills or something, that means
Yeah.
I've succeeded in life, which is hard to do. Like I've been doing it for 4 years, and when I
It's
was
tough.
when I was consistently doing it, um, I can maybe make 150, $200 like a month, and that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
hard. And I don't even get that anymore. Like it's fallen off. I don't know why, but
You got to
uh,
wear some clown makeup
I gotta
and you'll be
scream into
good.
the mic, and I mean,
I
dude,
think honestly, if you seriously, you have like a very Viking look to you. So if you
thank
got
you.
like two swords and maybe grew the beard out just a little bit to braid it, and then you
Man,
played like
it's
God
so
of War.
itchy. Yeah, God of
I
War. Yep.
I can't have facial hair because if it gets to even half of what you have, my wife goes, "No, I'm not going to kiss you. Shave it
It,
now."
it doesn't even look like you can, but
I
I would like to
can't,
see
I
you with a
can't. But
beard.
when I but when I do like get a little bit, she goes, "No,
Yeah.
get rid of it now."
So my wife's
Um,
the opposite. I someday I'll just shave it just for you because you wouldn't recognize me. I look like I have a chin now. If I take this away, I don't have no chin. I look
and it's
strange.
just unshapely. Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes you need it.
yeah, and
I
so
wish I could grow it. I like that would be great. I'm like, I think it would define my face a little bit, but it doesn't work. I've
dude,
tried.
you have the perfect face, man. Not being gay, but you got it. You got the looks. You got the personality.
If I can find it on Facebook, I there was a picture of me doing like no shave November. No, it was during COVID where I was like, I'm not gonna shave. And it was like a month and a half into COVID, and I looked like an art thief, right? Like I had just like a
You
little
have
bit
to find
here.
that for me. Yeah, I got to
I'm
see
gonna
this.
I'm gonna try to find it, and whenever it comes up, I'll be like, hey, by the way, this is that picture. Um,
um,
so listen, Bones, I told you I'm really bad at cutting people off. And
all
as
good.
you're talking, I'm like, fuck, man, like I want to talk to you about this. Shit, I want to talk to you about that.
We
We'll
hardly
have
even
to do
talked any
it.
Swugga too, so we'll have to do a part two or something, man.
We'll have
And
to
we'll
do a
talk
part
Swugga.
two, or maybe I'm gonna jump in on one of yours in the near future, or even off camera. Like we talk off camera constantly now, and whatever else. And I'm awful at cutting people off, and I did an awful job if I'm looking at the time right now. Um,
I told you.
But I do appreciate your time. And the one thing that I do want to tell people is, after I was on Three Scoundrels, and I listened to the episodes that don't feature me because there's no reason for me to listen to myself. It is a lot of fun. It's very long, but if you're
Yeah.
like a commuter or you're someone who likes to throw a podcast on while you're cleaning or something, like
Yep.
it's three people and guests, four, five, six people shooting the shit about the game, and sometimes it's informative and sometimes it's not, but it's always fun. Like I enjoy listening
I
to it.
wouldn't listen to it around your kids because it can get really
No,
strange sometimes. So
yeah,
just
don't do
forewarning.
that. Maybe keep the AirPods in or the headphones,
But
but
if you
it
guys are
is
interested,
definitely.
we do have big names. We've had Zareth, we've had Celiac Sarah, Pico Burrito, Solo Base, AP Gains. They're all usuals that come by all the time, and Egg here. So it is interesting because we do get big names. I don't know how. I guess the whale and Logan attracts them, but it is a good time. And real quick, come check me out, Bonez 88 as well. I stream all the time. We only do Three Scoundrels on Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Be there. Um, but yeah, it's a good time. So, and Egg, I appreciate everything you've done just for the community, man. I'm having a blast chilling with you, talking to you, and I love what you're doing. So keep up the good work. Like I said, your numbers will grow. I'm sure it will. Real quick before we go, how long have you been actually making content on YouTube?
So on YouTube since January of this year. But I try to tell this to people because I've had content creators that I know personally very well, who are smaller than me that have been making content much longer, and
Yes.
they've said things to me like, I don't get it. Like, how are you able to do it and I'm not able to do it? I've been creating text content for 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that my content's better, it's that it's people following me that were already part of a following, right?
Yes.
And they were already like, oh, I like your text, so let me follow you
Yeah.
doing this
Yeah.
as well.
Well, it
So
took
it's
me 3 years.
disingenuous.
It took me 3 years to get to 600.
Yeah.
So you're kicking ass, man. So keep it up. I think you'll be quite surprised. And like I know you got to go, but like I said, a lot of these big names have quit, so it's giving room for people like you and others to come up and kind of take those places. And it's a new age of content creating for Swugga. And you got to remember, this game has made $4 billion. Most people haven't heard of this game, but there are a fuck ton of people playing it, and there's room for success for sure. So
There was a
just keep it
shit
up,
ton of
brother.
money in it.
Yeah,
So Bones, again, thank you very much. And
always,
and and
brother.
I'm sure I'll be with the scoundrels. I'm constantly in your Discord starting shit.
You're our usual,
Uh,
man. You're our usual. You're always welcome.
but thank you, man.
No problem, brother.